Why should the Pittsburgh Steelers heavily consider Matt Araiza as the next punter in Pittsburgh? And why the Steelers shouldn't overlook offensive line here in the first couple rounds of the 2024 draft. And also, we're going to talk a little bit more about some quarterback rumors. And no, they're not about Justin Fields. Welcome back to Mic Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's talk about everything going on with your Steelers. Yes, it's the offseason, but there's still a lot of news going on surrounding your football team. Let's start with Matt Araiza. I really like the Steelers' chances to get him, and I think that they should pursue him. A guy that has a big leg, a guy that could really get the job done punting in a stadium, Acrisure Stadium, that's very difficult to kick in. Punting, field goal kicking, kickoffs, it's a difficult spot to kick in with the wind patterns off the river, things like that. So I think Matt Araiza would be an excellent addition. A guy that was drafted in the 6th round out of San Diego State by the Buffalo Bills. He has NFL experience, and we know how good he can be. And like we've said on the channel 100 times, punter is a very important position. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you really should value that, considering what you had in Presley Harvin. Now that the Steelers have released him and got out from underneath that, they have a couple options. Free agency, draft, their tryouts, things of that nature. They have some options to get a new punter. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers really need to look at Matt Araiza, a guy that's 6'1", a bigger guy for a punter that could get in there and really make some noise, I think. A guy that could really do well, because you have to have some knowledge and some ability to be able to punt in that stadium. It's not as easy as some people think. And when you had Presley Harvin putting that defense into compromising situations over and over, you had an offense that was 3 and out, and you're producing tons of punts. You got to have a guy that can make it and matter and do some good shit, man. And Presley Harvin wasn't that answer, but Matt Araiza definitely could. And I think it would be foolish for the Pittsburgh Steelers to ignore Matt Araiza on the open market. A guy that was cleared of all wrongdoing on his charges. A guy that found himself in a little bit of trouble, and the Buffalo Bills let him go. But I think now that everything's settled, I think Matt Araiza would be a quality addition to this team. And let's now move to the offensive line. There's tons of rumors out there. There's tons of people talking about how the Pittsburgh Steelers really love Mason Cole. Now, I think he would be better served as a backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think they really do like him. And yes, it's going to be hard to bring him back with the way he missed a lot of blocks last season, the way his snaps were, how horrible they were all year long. It's going to be hard to bring him back at that $6 million cap number. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers are probably going to have to work something out with him, and I think he would be somebody that would be part of that so-called restructure type plan to get under the cap, because the Steelers are $4 million still over the cap, and we're going to break that down on Friday's live show a little bit more in depth with the cap and what roster moves the Steelers could still make here ahead of free agency and post June 1. So we'll see how that all goes, but the Steelers really need to consider getting some offensive linemen here. The center position is troublesome, guys. And yes, they do like Mason Cole. Like I said, he's $6.5 million to the cap, or $6 million, right around that area. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are really going to have to weigh the risk reward here and see what they can get done. A guy they like, but there has to be some better play. Maybe having him as a backup more than a starter, an everyday guy. Maybe keeping him, restructuring that deal, getting him down lower in terms of cap hit, and just keep him around as a backup center, as a backup guard, a guy that could do a couple different things. And I think the Steelers really value guys that can play multiple positions on the offensive line. So I think that that's where the Steelers are with Mason Cole. And if he's going to be that $6.5 million cap hit, I think the Steelers would be willing to figure something out. And I think it's going to depend on the draft and what they're able to get done in terms of drafting a young center. Maybe they get a tackle. Just how does Spencer Anderson play out? we know they're not going to move James Daniels out of the tackle spot to go back to center where he played in Pittsburgh. They're going to keep Daniels at guard because they feel like they have two good, solid guards right now in James Daniels and Isaac Seumalo. They're going to have to figure out how they can put Broderick Jones back at that left tackle spot and figure out what to do at right tackle. Is Dan Moore Jr. going to be able to work this offseason to figure out how to play that right side? Or are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to have to go out and get another guy? That's why I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have to consider in the first 2 rounds drafting either a center and a tackle, both, or one or the other. I think it's an imperative thing to do because you're going to have to continue to rebuild this offensive line throughout the offseason, and it has to be done. There is no question as to whether or not you need a piece or two added to that offensive line. It is a necessity. You have 2 guys that really held that back, and that was Dan Moore Jr. and Mason Cole. And I think if you can figure out how to at least replace one of those guys through the draft with a solid big-time rookie, I think maybe that would work. Or watching the waiver wire, watching how teams are at least some of these bigger name guys that could be cap casualties for their team. So maybe watch out for those types of moves. Again, guys, if a guy is released from his team right now, you don't have to wait till the free agency period. You are able to make a deal with him. And you're going to have to watch out next week because there will be some more cuts. There will be some more contract news because I think the Steelers are wanting to get underneath that cap and be prepared ahead of free agency and really know where their deficiencies are going to lie and where they know their holes are going to be, considering what type of moves they're going to make in terms to get under the cap. So we're definitely going to be watching that. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would absolutely be fools if they do not consider a tackle and a center inside of this draft in 2024. I think it would be an absolute grave mistake not to fill one of those spots through the draft with a young star. That's what I think they need to do, and I think it's imperative to get it done. That's why I say don't waste any picks on stupid shit like punter, kicker, or anything like that, because I really don't think there's any type of those guys, maybe one inside of the draft. I think you need to go out, grab Matt Araiza, you have Chris Boswell, and start to focus on that offensive line in this draft period, guys. So we're going to continue to talk here, guys. I want to thank you for stopping by here at Mike Drop Sports. Again, I'm Jason, and this is the Mike Drop Sports, and we appreciate you guys so much. But don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe and turn on that notification bell, because if you've made it this far into the video, you've evidently liked it. So make sure you keep that going for us and hitting that like button and all that fun stuff. So we're going to keep moving here, and we're going to talk about some more of these quarterback rumors that are popping up. How about Kirk Cousins? We're not talking about Justin Fields. How about Kirk Cousins, a guy that made $40 million last year, coming off an Achilles injury, hitting the free agency market. And some say that he is the number 1 free agent quarterback inside of this market, and he possibly could be. So what will it take after coming off an Achilles injury, guys? That's the big thing. Are the Steelers able to afford a guy like that? So far, people have the Steelers and the Atlanta Falcons as 2 teams that are front runners for that job. So, or for Kirk Cousins and filling that position at quarterback. So we're going to continue to watch that. But here's my take on it, guys. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a position or willing to go out and sign one of these big name free agency quarterbacks. I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think the Justin Fields thing's going to happen. I don't think they would go out and get a big name guy in the free agency market at quarterback. Why? Because they're over the cap by $4 million right now. You're going to need money for rookies. You're going to need money for free agency at other positions other than quarterback. And you already have to come up with that money now. So you're just adding, because if you would add one of these big name guys, you're going to need a $30, $40 million, maybe 25 at the very least to get one of these top free agent quarterbacks. And in no way in hell would it be good for the Pittsburgh Steelers to give up that kind of resource to gain one of these guys. Kirk Cousins is an aging guy. I just don't think it would happen. But you see all these rumors, and I want you guys to really think to yourself, are these rumors true? Do they have any validity? Maybe slightly. The Steelers are going to kick the tires on anybody in the free agency market. They're going to do their due diligence on all of them, and they'd be stupid not to. But in reality, guys, the Steelers are not going to make that kind of move, and I don't think that it would ever happen. I really, really don't. And if they would, it would be a complete shocker to me. My jaw would hit the floor, guys, for sure. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, that would be a big-time error in my eyes. The Pittsburgh Steelers not considering offensive linemen in a draft in the first couple rounds and really pull the trigger on that would be a grave mistake in my eyes. Not pursuing Matt Araiza would be a grave mistake in my eyes. There are a couple things here that the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they do, could really set this franchise back in terms of the way they're building this thing. Now, I want to get to another rumor that I've seen. Some people are saying the Pittsburgh Steelers have a Super Bowl roster right now, minus a quarterback. Is that true? Do they have that kind of firepower? Do they have that kind of defensive prowess? I'm not sure. I think there's too many variables. There's too many holes right now on this Pittsburgh Steelers roster for them to be contenders right now, guys. The offseason and free agency, the draft are going to be very, very important for this team. They are not super far away, but they're not real close. They need to gain a couple key pieces, man. They need to get that offensive line built correctly to really make this run. They need to figure this quarterback position out, because do the Steelers really love Kenny Pickett? Yeah, they do, guys. And I know it sucks because I'm not a Kenny supporter either. Some of you may be, but some of you aren't. But the Steelers truly are in love with Kenny Pickett. They really are. They love how he plays. They love his intangibles. They love the thought of how he could grow. They really, really do. And they wouldn't keep doing this bullshit. They wouldn't have drafted him in the first round. They wouldn't keep trying to wheel him out there if they didn't. I'm telling you guys, they really do like him. And I look for him to be the starter in week 1, no matter what, no matter who they bring in. But we'll see. If by some slim chance they are able to re-sign Mason Rudolph, which is what I hope, maybe that competition gets played out in a true fashion and you see Mason week 1 and Kenny become that backup. But those variables we're going to have to see play out throughout the summer. But as of right now, don't believe in all these rumors that you see. Don't put a lot of stock into this Kirk Cousins talk, this Justin Fields talk. Don't put a lot of stock into it. Don't believe half this shit. These are people writing this stuff for headlines. The real issues are the Steelers need offensive linemen, for sure. The Steelers really do need to figure out the quarterback position, but they're not going to do it in an unrealistic, un-Steeler-like way. They're not. The Steelers really need to figure out inside linebacker. They really need another cornerback. They really need a third receiver, a slot receiver. They have to have one. They need to sign a quality veteran punter. So there's so many holes, and they're going to have to do it economically, considering they're still $4 million over the cap after trimming some dead weight off of their roster. And Mitchell Trubisky, Chuks Okorafor, Presley Harvin. They still have cap issues. So the Steelers are going to have to go back to a more Steeler way and build through the draft and utilize their draft picks and continue what they did last year when they started out great with Omar Khan in his first draft, getting players that contributed immediately. That's what they're going to have to continue to do, guys. They're going to have to continue to do that, and that's exactly the way this should be done to be economical, to preserve the future of this franchise. That's what they have to do. You have to think long term. And I've said it before on the channel. These teams that don't win consistently don't have a big picture mindset. And the Steelers have always been good about having the long game type mindset because they have 6 Lombardis. They don't have a ton of 2-10 seasons, losing seasons. You know what I mean? They don't have those records going into games. They don't have those losing seasons often. And yes, the Steelers do that because they think of the long game. And that's why they are successful. That's why they have 6 Lombardi trophies. That's why they are one of the premier franchises in the NFL. These teams that go out and risk it all to win 1 Lombardi, That's why they don't have many trophies in the trophy case, guys. And the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise and ownership realize it, and I think they hold that near and dear to their hearts, that they build through the draft. They build in the correct way. They don't mortgage the future for one Lombardi trophy, because if you don't do those types of stupid moves, you can have multiple years of success. You can always be in the conversation. So, guys, we're going to wrap up the show today. Don't forget our live show. I'll be joined by Sean tonight here on Mic Drop Sports for another live episode. We'll go on about 6:30, 6:45, maybe even. I'll let you know. It'll be between 6:30 and 7, just depending on when Sean can jump on. We'll see. That'll be Eastern Standard Time, between 6:30 and 7. Look out. Turn your notification bell on so you will be alerted for the live shows. Just so that way you don't miss one and you can jump in right when we get started. That way we don't have to kind of wait for people to get going and then kind of waste time. We want to get moving and get cranking and get to hear what you guys have to say about your favorite team, about the NFL, and about anything else you want to talk about. So, we enjoy these live shows, guys. They've had raving success, and I appreciate you guys so very much. And we're going to talk about all of this stuff and a lot more. And then Friday, we're going to come back tomorrow with a monster show with one of our guys that is kind of joined the Mic Drop family now, and that's Nova Racer. On Friday, we're probably going to be about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock time frame there. I'll double check with Nova for that. But again, guys, if you turn on that notification bell, you get to know instantly when uploads get put in, and you'll know exactly when we're going live, and you won't miss a beat here with us on Mic Drop Sports as we continue to grow this channel and this community into one of the absolute best on YouTube. So until next time, I'm Jason. This is Mic Drop Sports. Peace.